He said, let's make realistic goals. I put my iced tea down and I go, thank you so much for the opportunity, but within the next 90 days, I'm going to be at a different brokerage.
It's funny because when he said to you, let's be more realistic, I would have been like, yeah, you're right. 10 million is a little bit on the low side. We'd be doing like 25 or 30 million.
My first year, I didn't do 10 million. Unfortunately, I did 30 million. We got up to our peak on Zillow was $60,000 a month.
6-0?
6-0. I paid off of that transaction $40-something thousand referral, right?
There's a pie that's 100%. If you take away the referral fees, let's say it's 40%, that leaves 60% of the pie. You're paying 40% to the agent, that leaves 20%. And then if you have 30% expenses, the pie is actually negative 10%.
Every single one of my agents closed deals. Every single one. In February alone, I had every single agent either under contract or closed a deal.
In today's episode, we have Cyrus Moseni. He is the founder of the Keystone Team, a real estate team / independent brokerage out of Newport Beach. In today's episode, he is going to be teaching us how to build a real estate team. Now, the reason I believe this is important is if you're looking to build a real estate team for real estate, looking to build an escrow company, looking to build a plumbing company, a lot of the same things that you need to build a real estate team are the same foundational things that you need to build any business. Welcome to the podcast, Cyrus. How are you?
I'm great. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Of course, man. So walk me through, okay, at some point you were an independent agent. At what point did you decide to build a team, and why did you decide to build a team?
I have a very unique story, by the way, like coming into the brokerage world. I don't actually talk about it a lot, but I used to play soccer for a living. I got in a car accident, got into real estate. When I got into real estate, I joined a big box brokerage. And when I joined that big box brokerage, I had a chance. It was the number one office in the country at the time for that brokerage. And I had a chance to sit with the owner of that specific office. And he was like, because of the people I knew at the time, like I knew him, and that's how I ended up there. Long story short, he was like, "Hey, Cyrus, I want to go to lunch with you. Let's sit down and have a meeting, and so we could talk about your goals." And I was like, "Great." And so I was super excited, super stoked. We went to lunch, and I was sitting down with him, and this is probably like a couple weeks of me getting my license, like of me joining the brokerage, and he sits there and he goes, okay, so let's talk about goals. I want to talk about like what do you want to do, like what are your goals in this business, like let's figure out how we're going to get you there. And I was like, perfect, like I love this. So I sit down with him, and when I sit down with him, he asks me, what's your goal for your first year in real estate? Like, what do you want to do production wise? And I said, I want to sell 10 million in my first year. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to give a summary of the whole conversation, but he said, hey, let's make, and when I heard him say that, I remember him saying that, and it like I have it so like vividly, in my mind. So I remember him saying that, and me sitting there and having I drink or anything. I iced tea. I actually haven't had iced tea this whole year, by the way. No caffeine this whole year, which is pretty good. But at the time, I grabbed my iced tea, and I remember taking a sip from the straw for like it felt like 10 minutes, because in my mind I'm like, this guy just told me I can't do like what I want to do, like I was a professional athlete. Like everybody told me my whole life I can't do it. Like, are you kidding me? And I remember sitting there taking this sip, and he could talk, and all I heard was that, right? Like I'm like, what? And I put my iced tea down, and I go, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your brokerage. Thank you for coming to lunch with me. But within the next 90 days, I'm going to be at a different brokerage. And he looked at me and he goes, what do you mean you're going to be at a different brokerage? Like, we're the top, like, where are you going to go? We're the number one brokerage, we're the number one office, like, yada, yada. I go, well, if I want to get somewhere and you're the one that's supposed to help me get there and you don't believe I can get there, then I'm in the wrong place. And I said, so I just like, thank you. I appreciate you. Let's have lunch. Let's talk about whatever we want to talk about. But like the reality is like, like I'm going to be at a different company. And he proceeded to try to convince me that it doesn't make sense, yada, yada. So then I go home and I'm like, how would I do? I just told this guy that I'm going to leave his brokerage. Like, like this guy doesn't believe that I can sell 10 million in my first year. I know I can. Like, I just have to put in the work. By the way, if anybody knows me, they know that if you tell me I can't do something, like I will make it my life's mission to show you that I will be able to do it. I've done it my whole life. And when I got into real estate, I started listening to every podcast, reading every single, not reading, every single Audible, watching every YouTube video. I mean, you name it, you name the real estate trainer, you name the that was trying to become a real estate trainer. I've probably watched all their videos. You know what I mean? Like I've seen, I studied the game because I'm like, if I'm going to get into this, I need to treat it like if I was a professional athlete. I need to know every single piece of this so that I can become the best at this. And at the time, there was this conversation about independent brokerages. There was this conversation about teams, and and there was movement toward like an independent brokerage. And so I said, okay, that's what I want to do. I didn't even understand what a true escrow was. I didn't understand what a brokerage was. I didn't understand I needed to be in the industry for a couple years to be a broker. But what I did was I studied, how do I open a brokerage? And what I realized is every major brokerage, every office, every company hires a broker of record. That's what they're doing. They're hiring somebody to stand in that position. So I said, okay, let me go find someone that would be my broker of record for my company. So I ended up negotiating a deal, long story short, and hiring a broker of record to start an independent brokerage within the first 90 days of me getting my license. Not because I thought, I'd be the best brokerage in the world and yada, yada, but if I was with the number one brokerage at the time and the number one office in that brokerage and they didn't believe in me, then who would in my mind? So I said, I need to create my own.
Well, it's funny because when he said to you, like, let's be more realistic, I would have been like, yeah, you're right. 10 million is a little bit on the low side. Probably be doing like 25 or 30 million, you know? But it's, let me ask you this. When you hired the broker of record, this is just from my personal knowledge. What did you find? Like, what type of structures are those people typically looking for? Are they looking for like a percentage of the revenue? Are they looking for like a monthly salary? And what would a broker of record actually do in case somebody is considering like a independent brokerage?
A mix of both. I didn't have money to give a monthly salary. So I was already used to giving a percentage. Like and for me, I got a pay raise. So I said, look, like I want you to be my broker of record. I'll give you a percentage of my commission and anybody that I hire so that you can continue doing whatever you want to do. But I just need you to be my broker of record. And by the way, I'll fill out all the paperwork. I'll do it all done. You just got to make sure you sign the papers and get it done. And he's like, all right, sounds good to me. And so that's what I did. So what I did was then I went into the DRE and then I went and studied, okay, how do I actually do this? And I read all the documents. I understood, like, I'm a big believer in if you're going to do something, you should go all in on it. Right. Like, and so I wanted to understand what it is that we're doing and how to structure this. So I built the brokerage from a perspective of I needed to file for like my corporation and all of these pieces to create a business. Um, I started doing trademarking, everything, yada yada. And then when I placed broker in place, I told him, hey, you're going to get XYZ percentage of up to this amount. And then after this amount, you'll get XYZ percentage and so on and so forth. And by the way, by year two, I ended up restructuring that whole deal because for me, I realized is I was paying him a lot more money than I would have paid him if I just paid him a salary. But it allowed me to get my foot in the door, right? And now I tell people this because I think it's super important to understand. I would not do this in today's world.
Meaning you wouldn't open up an independent brokerage or you wouldn't hire.
Correct. I wouldn't hire a broker of record for an independent brokerage. I would also not be the independent broker. Or I would not be the broker of record. I have my broker's license. I'm still not my own broker of record. There's a lot of platforms now that you can utilize and have an independent brokerage still. And for example, like Side, Radius, like not EXP yet. Now there is a world that could exist, EXP and Real, and I'll get into that nuance. But like let's say Radius, I think is the best. Radius is the absolute best label brokerage as a service company right now. Side exists. There's other companies that do this, but it's essentially they're your broker of record. They do all the compliance, all of the accounting, all of that stuff that no one really wants to do as a brokerage does. They either take a percentage or a fee or yada yada, right? Depends, I know like there's some companies with Side that only pay a flat fee, some pay percentages, there's all of these different systems. And now you don't have the liability on you, but it all operates as an independent brokerage.
Yeah, 100%. EX actually has a white label in California, just so you know.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct. I know. Is a very good friend of mine.
amazing. You
And
kind of look like.
yeah.
Anybody ever tell you that?
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like I think we were and someone was like, "Are you guys brothers?" We're like, "No,
Yeah,
not brothers."
you kind of look
I
like
was
him.
like, "Don't insult me," No,
Right.
love Leo. Leo's like
Or,
I absolutely love him.
or compliment you. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, exactly. But no, he's a phenomenal guy, leader. Like I think Leo's amazing, and yeah, so there is a white label model,
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying with those nuances now. Like, so this is kind of why I don't believe that's the same. It should be the same model for like an EXP or like a real, um, because you want to fly that flag when you're EXP. You want to fly that flag when you're real because that's how you're going to create the downline that you'll create with EXP or real, which is part of their value proposition. When you're on the flag, it's very hard to create that downline. So that's where I think it's a unique where like that probably wouldn't be the model that I would go to if I want to create an independent brokerage. Because if I do, then I'd rather just go join. I'd rather join as a team, do a Kyle Whistle, Dan Beer model, know that it's EXP, and then just get as many people under me as possible. Right? That would be that model for that concept.
cool. So let's talk about bringing on your first agent. So let's backtrack into the broker of record. Uh, it doesn't have to be your structure, but are the typical percentages? Could it be like 5%, 10% of the revenue that they would take? Give us a range, not an exact number or even your structure. What could or be
I
just
would say I would to 10%.
up to that?
Like depending on what you're getting for those services. I know that's how Side started, right? Side was a 10%, like, hey, we do all brokerage services, accounting, everything. We do 10%, blah blah blah. And now they're different like sliding scales and yada yada. But like I know that's how they started, right? I know like Radius, they have models where it's less than that, right? So each company is a little different. But if you're starting an independent, you're going to go hire a broker of record separately. Let's not talk about these other companies, these white label companies or anything. And you want to start it without having your license as a broker of record. You want to hire a broker of record. Like I would be prepared to give someone 10% to do the broker of record duties.
Got it. So, in terms of deals or volume, what does your independent brokerage do? Just to kind of give the consumers a little bit of a background, and then we're going to go into like, okay, what did it look like at the beginning, and then some of the hires and lead generation as well too.
Yeah, our goal 26 is 300 mil. We're expanding, we're opening in multiple states. I just got our Florida and our Georgia. And that would be from production based on what we do in California.
And what did you guys do last year?
Little like right over 200.
Amazing.
And our goal is to and slowly increase agent count in order to increase production. So I don't believe in rapid agent count.
How many agents are on the team right now?
Just under 40. Led the team. Like we talked about earlier. It's a team ridge, right? Like it is an indie brokerage, but so some of those agents are like agents that, I probably have like 5 or 6 agents that just kind of like coast. They come, they're friends of mine, and then I have probably another 20 agents plus that are referral agents that all they do is I help them get their license at some point, and they hang their license with us as referral agents. And when they send me deals, I can pay them legally.
So is that on top of the 40 agents that are producing?
Correct.
40 agents,
Correct. Yeah.
two referral agents, and then maybe like 6 or 7 agents that are just part of the brokerage, but they
Correct.
do their own thing. So
Exactly.
40 agents are the ones that amount to the $200 million.
I would say no. I'd say like that's like around 30, 32 agents that
32.
amount to that. Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Okay, walk us through like so you have the broker of record. Who was your first hire? Was it like then at some point you brought another agent? What was your value proposition to those agents? And then how did you structure a compensation that made for them, but also made sense for the company as well too?
Two things. First thing is my first hire was my assistant. Like, I didn't hire an agent. I hired an assistant. And the reason is my first so my first year didn't do 10 million. Unfortunately, I did 30 million. And then the year that I did 52 million. And so the reason I was able to do that is because what I realized very quickly is like, I don't have time to do all of this paperwork. I don't have time to do all of this extra stuff. So I hired an assistant. And at the time, this is 10 years ago, I couldn't afford an assistant in person. And so what I did was started trying to figure out, how do I hire somebody that like I can afford? Because at the time I'm starting this business, like I don't have money like to like just throw at this company. I'm giving this percentage over here. I'm doing this. I got an office space, like I'm like, what am I gonna do here? And so what I did was I found out through a bunch of research, yada yada, and this like nowadays it's like a buzzword. Well, maybe last year it was a buzzword, now it's AI. But it's a buzzword, VAs, right? Like, oh, you should hire a VA. You need a VA. Like like I've had VAs for over years that work with me still. And that was my first hire, is getting someone that can help me with all of the back end stuff, that can help me with my calendar, that can help me schedule all my showings, that can help me do all of the things to take off my plate so that I can do what I do best, which is produce. What I do best is go and prospect at the time, right? Like I was doing 4 hours of cold calling, 2 hours of door knocking, and 2 open houses every single week at this time. And so what I knew is that I have this brokerage now. I'm the only agent, and I'm my business partner, but I'm the only agent that's producing, that's doing all of this. Like, I need help with all of this. Now, what I realized quickly is that most other agents don't operate how I operate. So I was thinking about systems, processes, automations, getting rid of any do more than once. And so then when I looked at hiring agents, I said, okay, what can I do? I felt that I could a seasoned agent because I was brand new in the business. So what I started doing was helping people get into the business, then teaching them how to get into real estate, and then giving them the same admin team that I was using, right? So my assistant started working and helping them with all of their stuff. And so I was training people on this. I always say, like, the best way to teach piano is be one lesson ahead. You know what I mean? So when I got into the business, right, like I was doing so much business that I was learning through this, and then I was helping people get into the business through partnering with a bunch of real estate schools, and then also meeting people that were like, "Hey, like, you're crushing it, Cyrus. Like, what are you doing?" And me saying, "Hey, here, go to this school, connect with this person, blah blah blah, get your license. I'll help you get into it." And I built the company that way. And since then, like, so I went really quickly. By end of year two, I had 20 plus agents. And I mean, like, one of my agents right now has, I helped him get into the business. Now he's in referral agent status because he's retired at this point. But I helped him get into the business, do extremely well in the business, and then I helped him start investing into real estate. And then now, I mean, like he owns like multiple mobile home parks. Like, I mean, the guy's just absolutely crushing it. Another one of my agents, I helped him get into the business, helped him structure a whole nother company. Now he's doing huge developments and outside. So like for me, from a soccer background, my favorite coaches that I ever had were the coaches that helped me get better, but me go when it was time to let me go and pushed me out, right? And so when I get into the business, when I'm in this, start developing these agents and they start doing well, because really like this business is super simple. It's consistency and discipline over time. Like if you do the same action over and over, the right actions over and over consistently, like you'll crush in this business. It's the reality. And so my agents are doing, and this is before we started investing in the leads, by the way. So I'm going out door knocking with these agents. I'm going out doing open houses every single weekend with these agents. I'm cold calling. We're having cold calling blitzes in our office, where we have 15 agents sitting there cold calling all at the same time, right? And so we're teaching them how to fish and create this business. And it's these agents were very successful. I mean, a lot of them are top agents across the country at this point. And and so what ended up happening is we created this unique environment of like we're a brokerage, we're all individual agents, but we all work together. And and my whole mentality is I get you to a certain point, and at the time I didn't have a scalable corporate structure, yada yada. I got them to a point, and I'm like, hey, like this is what I got for you. Like now you want to go start your own thing, go start. Hey, now you want to go do this, go do it over here. Let me connect you with the right person because I know the right person. Right now, if I'm in the same situation, it's like one of my first deals that I ever did was a flip, and it was not my own flip, but I was the agent, and I'm like, now if I look back on it, I would have bought it myself because there's always money that you could always find the money if the deal's right, right? And now if I look back at some of these agents that like now like are at EXP or at a different brokerages, like or you know different companies or whatever, like I would have been like, dang, I could have helped them start their own independent. I could have helped them do that. Now I can do that. At the time, I couldn't, right? So it's a very interesting thing. So for me, I want to push the agents. I want to push all of my people to their best because at this point, like this industry has given me everything and then some that I have and that I've ever wanted. You know what I mean? So can I give that to other people? And that's my whole motto for brokerage.
So it's basically to help develop agents and get them to the point where they can basically do their own thing if they wanted to.
Gladly. And if you stay with me forever, I would love for you to stay with me forever. And now I have a model where I can help you go from, let's say, let's just pretend you're a brand new agent. I could take you into my company, help you because we have all the systems, all the training, everything. And then once you hit a certain volume, then I can help you become a team lead. I can build your team for you within our brokerage. And then once you're at a certain volume, I could take you and say, okay, hey, go build your own independent and I'll build it for you. Like I'll help you build it. And now we can all win, right? Throughout this whole process where like, this is 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, like when I had these top producing agents that are doing 30 million plus, I'm like, dude, like I don't know where to take you now. Like you got to go build your own team and you got to go build that somewhere else. You know what I mean? And now I can sit there and say, hey, let's build your team here. Once you hit 60 million, then I'll help you start building an independent brokerage, and then we'll go from there.
But what would be the benefit of them building an independent brokerage as opposed to just kind of keeping it with you? I honestly, I don't think that there's even a need for that.
It depends, right? I agree, right? And it's a branding play for some people, right? So for instance, like you can be with us and a team with us, or you can have your own brand, your own everything up ahead of time, and then like us power your back and let all of our systems, all of our stuff. Like my agents, by the way, like they don't have to do paperwork. Admin team does everything. They write their contracts, they set up their showings, they do. I mean, literally every piece of paperwork that you'd have to do, my admin team does it. We have an AI system that literally like you can ask any question to it anytime. It can write your offers for it. Like everything's done for my agents so that my agents just have to go and do this, which is the relationships. So you're 100% right. Like, why would you? It depends. It's a personal preference. Some people ownership so that then they can have a business that they can actually sell.
Let's jump right into like the leads portion of it. So at some point you were prospecting for 4 hours a day, door knocking 2 hours, and then doing 2 open houses a week, which is great. What were you calling at that point, and what were you door knocking? And then you mentioned that that was even before leads. So I imagine at some point you got into paid leads, and that basically almost like put like nitro on a car. Basically. I'm guessing they blew that up as well too. Go from there to the paid leads, and what did you learn in that transition as well too? And this is applicable for any business. Any business needs leads or customers. So I like to learn from other businesses as to what they're doing, and then whether you're doing a plumbing business or some of these things are going to be transferable.
100%. Every business needs leads. And when you first get into business in general, you are the chief everything officer. You are the one that's the top person. You have to business, right? Like, and so for me, it was what I again. This is from like just reading, watching YouTube, yada yada. I saw that a lot of agents were getting a bunch of listings from expireds for sale by owners and 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 from probate lists, right? And canceleds, right? So like these are like these are the lists that like everybody like I keep hearing like, oh, this agent's doing this, oh that this I'm watching cold calling videos. I'm like, oh, interesting, blah blah blah. Like this company's doing that. I said, okay, well then that's what I'm gonna do. And by the way, expireds are like the lowest hanging fruit in the business, right? Now they're some of the hardest to convert, right? Because they've been basically thrown out, they've been non-serviced, right? I think if a listing expires, it's usually because you didn't service the client properly, or for whatever reason it was withdrawn and you left it withdrawn and then it finally expired. But my point is like this is the lowest. So I said I'm gonna call all the expireds. I'm gonna start at 8 a.m. and I'm just gonna call. I'm gonna dial. And when I run out of expireds, I'm gonna call for sale by owners. I'm gonna call the canceleds, and then I'm gonna call probate. And I'm just gonna keep doing this every single day. And there was times when I do. At the time, it was a single line dialer. I wish I had a triple line dialer because now they have triple line dialers. And and I would do on average it was around 80 calls an hour is for a single line dialer. And so I was calling for 4 hours a day minimum on these lists, and there's not that many expires that come on the market every day. So a lot of times I was just calling the same people over and over again. I was calling the same cancel. I was calling just dialing, dialing, dialing. And then what I realized is like, let me call people like that were like 2 months old expired instead of right away. Because the right away people are getting called by 800 people, right? And so then I started, my goal was, okay, can I just set one appointment on a daily basis? Like that was my goal. If I can set on average one appointment on a daily basis, then I'll be stoked. And so probably I would say like 4 months into just calling every with zero appointments, I finally got my first appointment. And then I took that same script that I used and then I refined it a little bit more and I kept using it. And then I got another appointment the next week and then another appointment and so on and so forth. Where to one point I was getting 4 appointments a week. And then what I realized is I wasn't closing any of these appointments because then I'm going into listing appointments without like understanding what the hell I'm doing. And so then I had to perfect that. And then it was like this whole thing, which is in every, right? Like you got to generate the lead, but then when you generate the lead, you got to go into the business. You got to be able to go and close the lead because you can generate any lead. You could generate a million leads, but if you don't know how to close the lead, then it's pointless to generate it, right? And so that's what I did. So those were the people that I called. The people that I door knocked were mainly expireds for sale by owners. And then when I did open houses, I always door knock 100 doors around the open house. So what I realized of door knocking is in 2 hours, we live in Southern California, most of the area, unless you're in the Inland Empire, like you're going to around on average 50 doors every hour, depending on conversations. And so for my goal was, if I'm doing two open houses, if they're at the same property, then I'm every open house that I did, I'm knocking 100 doors for each one. So if I'm doing the same one, I'm knocking 200 doors around that neighborhood, right? And that was my system. But then that was on Thursday and Friday, and then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was door knocking expireds and for sale by owners. And so that was the lead generation system to get to 30 million. Like that was it. Like it wasn't like this fancy process. After that, as I started hiring agents, teaching them how to get into the business, what I realized is when you hire agents, your production goes down significantly. And the reason is very simple, is a lot of your time is dealing with them and helping them and training them, because the goal is that eventually if your production goes down, their production will go up and eventually beat yours, and so on and so forth. Now the thing is that when you're producing salesperson, because I went through that timeline of all of those calls, all of those door knocks, all of those appointments that I just didn't do well on. And so when you're hiring new agents specifically, you have to account for all of that. You have to account for that timeline. And most likely, in my experience, they're not going to as fast as you did. You give them all the scripts and everything. But for me, I was calling 4 hours a day, calling for 3 hours and 45 minutes, right? So on and so forth. So the results don't end up becoming the same for every single agent. Sometimes they were only calling for 2 hours, so on and so forth. So what I realized is like, okay, like these agents, like they won't end up, like I'm giving them open house leads that I got. I'm giving them all these leads that I'm getting so that I can manage the business. I have an assistant that's helping them with this. We're doing this process. And my wise at the time was 50-50 first three deals. After that 60-40, that's it. That was my commission structure. Any team provided leads was 40%. And and how did I come up with that shirt? I I talked to a couple of friends that were team leads at the time, and they said that's what they did. I I didn't take into account like they were thousands of dollars for leads and stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm just doing open houses, but I'm handing them warm leads. And and then it was a message on Facebook like, hey, I noticed that you're an agent in Orange County. Would love to touch base with you. So I see this message on Facebook, and I'm like, yeah, hey, yeah, I am, blah, blah, blah. And then I look at her, she's an agent. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what am I doing here? And she goes, hey, so I have this really interesting situation. I work with this company. I've done this thing with this company for a while. Um, I'm getting married, and I'm not this, but I'm looking for an agent that would be open to doing this seminar. And you'd come down to San Diego, and you'd have to set up like houses that could be fixers, and you'd have to talk about and you'd have to open the door, and we'd take like a bus of like 20 to 40 people to these houses so that they could be taught how to flip homes. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm down. Like, I'd love to do that. Like, that sounds great. And like 40 buyers, like, hell yeah. Like, this is great. I didn't realize that all of them wanted to put an offer on the same house, right? Like, and so I go down, and I knew I was going to have so many people. So I invited one of my agents, and I was like, yo, come with me. You're going to do this with me. I don't know what to expect, but we're going to do this. They're paying for this, yada, yada. So we go down to do this. And then like legit, we went 5-6 houses that day in a bus, like a like legit charter bus. Show up to these houses. Some of the agents are waiting for us to show us the houses, and just 40 people get off to go into this house. Like crazy stuff. Now I think like if I had an agent do this to me, I would have killed them. You know what I mean? Like, but at the time, I'm just like, hey, like whatever we got to do. So we get there, whatever, and we, no joke, had a line of 20 plus people that wanted to write offers on these properties. And so then my agent's sitting there, I'm sitting there with our iPads and our computers, and we're writing offers. Next, next, next.
You want
Like
to pay 600? You want to 20?
it was insane. Like, no, like legit. Like they're like, well, how much did I can't tell you, but blah blah blah. Okay, cool. We're just writing offers, like legit, like on this thing.
On
And it
this,
just occurred to me,
that would be wild.
yeah, yeah, like on the same 10 houses, like or whatever, right? Or six houses, whatever. And so then the next time, I think it was like the next weekend, they wanted to do this again. So I invited three agents because I was like, I'm not gonna do like this is insane. And so then it occurred to me, I'm like all my agents are stoked because we were putting these home. Every one of the homes that we showed was under contract with us. So we ended up like in 2 weekends putting 20 homes under contract, and my agents all had deals, and they didn't have to lift a finger other than show up to this thing and like write these offers and so that's when it occurred to me that I was like, okay, I'm teaching them how to fish, which is great to build their business, but can I give them a can I give them leads to subsidize the in between? So then I started looking at like all of these different lead generation services, Zillow, and all of these companies. So we started buying Zillow leads, and we started advertising like heavily on Facebook and Google. And when we saw on Facebook and Google, we noticed like a lot of our agents, they they weren't closing those leads, but they were closing the Zillow leads. So then I had to figure out, why are they closing Zillow leads but not these other ones? We're getting like, you know, 30x lead amount. Like the volume is crazy. It's because what Zillow does is they get those same amount of leads or more, but they vet them out, they talk to them, have ISAs, yada yada, and then they send them to you when they're warm. So then I'm like, okay, I need to. And at the time, I didn't know what an ISA was, by the way. But I was like, I need someone that's going to like call these people and set appointments for my agents. Like that's what I need to do. Like that's just makes sense. So that's what I did. So I hired someone, again, a VA that spoke great English, that didn't have an accent, and I hired them to every lead that came in, they called. I had my agent, it got transferred to my agents. Within 5 minutes, the rule was they had to call them. But then I had, again, I call them my call-in assistant, but it's a VA or a ISA, and I had them calling within 10 minutes. So we started doing this process where all leads would come in, and then I would like my VA would be them, my would be calling them after 8 p.m. No calls till the next morning, so on and so forth. And then we started bringing in a lot of business online leads. And then what I realized is my agents were doing open houses and not following up with those leads, but they were following up with these online leads. I'm like, what the hell? So I just realized that my agents would rather have the leads that were coming in like this than going out and doing the door knocking and cold calling and the open houses.
Now you're providing value to the agents, basically. What was the marketing budget at that time, and what is it now?
It's a little different now, but at the time I started investing on Zillow. I think we were doing like something, and again, this is like 9, 10 years ago, but we were spending like, I don't know, like probably $1,500 to $2,000 a month or something like this. And then same thing on Facebook and Google.
So maybe like $5,000, $6,000 a month.
5, 6 grand a month at the time was bringing us a ton of leads. And then we got up to our peak. Zillow was $60,000 a month,
60?
60. And that was last year before they flipped us into.
720,000 a year, basically.
That was before they flipped us into.
The flex program, basically.
Yeah, I would much rather be in market-based pricing.
What's the difference between market-based pricing versus the flex program for those that aren't aware?
Yeah, so market-based pricing is essentially how Zillow for a long time is basically based in your market. You would pay, let's say again, I'm just going to use $1,000 a month, and then you're gonna get about this many leads, and you get a percentage of that market, right? For that $1,000. So let's say they're estimating 20 leads to come into Seal Beach, California next month. You paid $1,000. You might get you might be estimated at 5 leads. When we were on market-based pricing, like I said, like 60 grand a month, like it was a lot up front because we had to pay up front. That's the difference with market-based pricing. With Zillow Preferred, which is it was called Flex, now it's called Zillow Preferred, the payment is on the back end.
It's a referral. What are the referrals now? Is it like 30, 35, 40%?
15 to 40% depending on price point.
Let's say you're doing 200 million or something like that. That's why you said that you'd rather be on the market-based pricing, because the $60,000 is actually a much lower number once you do the math. There's less risk because obviously you're not having to come up with that money up front, but there's also more accountability. I'm imagining that because you're getting the referrals, there's a lot more accountability from Zillow meetings to make sure that you're performing.
So like put in perspective, like we closed and like I have like some of the best zips in Orange County, candidly. We just closed I think it was a $5 million transaction. I paid for that transaction 40 something thousand dollars.
Basically, yeah, because it's $1,000 commission, and if they basically 50% rip on that, you're going to pay half of it basically.
So I paid 40 something thousand dollars on that referral, right? That's where I'm like, dude, in my zip codes, I'd rather just spend the money up front because like, but they don't allow that anymore in our zip codes, right? So what ended up happening for me, like at the same time, that lead came from thin air.
You would have never had access to it had they not presented it to you. So it's almost on your desk basically.
It was 2 showings we did with that client. We calculate, so I'm a big data nerd. So like I calculate everything. Like that lead, it was 2 showings we did with that client, got us that. So like, yeah, now sometimes we show 30 houses to somebody, 40 houses, you know what I mean? And then they don't convert. But like that one lead, like so if we go lead by lead, okay, so a $5 million client that came, some agents never close a $5 million client in their whole lives. And I have over 500 leads on a monthly basis that I can hand from Zillow specifically that I can hand to any of my agents right off the bat. You join our company and here you go. There you have access to.
Yeah, so the value proposition is huge right there, basically. And then, well, let me ask you this, because this is the way I was taught, because I'm in real estate as well too. The way that they explained it to me, I had a mentor, Lars Hedenborg, Real Estate B School, and he said, look, there's a pie that's 100% basically on that pie. And if you take away the referral fees, let's say it's 40%, that leaves 60% of the pie. And let's say you're paying 40% to the agent, that leaves 20% of the pie. And then if you have 30% expenses, the pie is actually negative 10%. So how did you have to modify your splits? I'm imagining that the agents had to go on a much lower split in order for the company to make money, or for you to have to open up like ancillary services like mortgage, title, escrow, or other things in order for the company to make money as well too.
Yeah, so a couple things. First off is like I'm a big believer and I own everything I touch. So very early on, I started a mortgage company. I started an escrow company. Like very early on, I got into all of these businesses. So ancillary services are like the answer if you're an independent brokerage, and that's kind of a benefit of being.
Any brokerage, the ancillary services are work. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was part of a coaching program in 2015. I went up to a couple brokers and I told them, hey, look, I'm considering opening up my own brokerage license. I said, don't do it. They said, stay as a top producing agent. They said, there's no money in the brokerage businesses. Most brokerages are operating at 0 to 10% profit margins. All the money is made on the ancillary services, the title, the escrow, the loans. Is that accurate or is that incorrect?
For most brokerages, yes. The thing about how we built our company specifically is like again, I didn't realize I was doing it. It wasn't like intentional whatsoever, but I built a company like very like non-dependent on people and non-dependent on people here because of I didn't have money. So when I was building the company at first, I'm hiring people outside of in the Philippines and in different markets.
An hour, $7 an hour, which would reduce expenses basically.
Correct. And then as technology, like I'm really big in the like I became big in the tech space, but like as technology advanced, I realized, okay, hey, I should get this software because then I don't need to get this higher, right? So this is where like my world is very different. But like, I was the vice president of a big independent Orange County called First Team. They do over $6.5 billion a year, you know, in
Who's counting, right? 6.5.
yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Small little number. And when I first got there and I looked at the financials, I sat down with the CEO, we looked at everything. I'm like, like, what are we doing here? Yeah, like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, how many users are using our CRM on a monthly basis? Oh, well, I don't know how many people logged in. What about how much we're spending this much on recruiting? What are our KPIs? What are our what? And I'm like, oh my goodness, right? This is just independent brokerages across most brokerage commissions. The commission compression is real. So commission, and brokerage is the one that's suffering from that, right? As commission compression happens, the agent doesn't want to make less commission. So they go to a brokerage where, for instance, an EXP, where you are 80/20 and then you hit a cap and cap out and then you don't, right? Like the reason EXP is able to operate is because they operate less than 2% margins, right? A lot of these brokerages, these especially the legacy brokerages, the Anywhere, the Compass, these companies, um, their margins are so high because they're so people dependent.
Meaning their profit margins are low, or their profit margins
They're super low.
low because of all the overhead and all the inefficiencies in it. Which I think this is a conversation that, like, because I get people that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna open a brokerage, and they're like a top producing agent, like making 30, 40, 50, selling $50 million a year, and it's like, okay, look, your production's gonna drop, and then also your profit margins are gonna shrink, which means out of every $100 you might be keeping $5, $7, $20, you know?
What I tell people is if you're going to open an independent brokerage as a white label partnership with a big box brokerage, especially in today's climate, period, end of story. And the reason is again, it's going back to like, why would you open an independent brokerage, right? Like, because, sometimes it's a legacy thing. And like, it's also like, can sell my company, right? When it's really hard to sell a book of business when the branding, everything is attached to another bigger brand, right? And so that's the motive of selling or of having an independent.
But who's gonna want to buy it at a 3 to 5% profit margin?
It's well, if you do it right, you're going to have a lot higher profit margins if you operate correctly. The problem is a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'm going to open an independent office. I'm going to go open this huge office space. I'm going to go get this. I'm going to go hire this person." That's not the brokerage of today anymore, right? Like you can't build that way. You see right now, Compass goes and acquires Anywhere. Like, like you will see, they are actively in all of their brands letting go of people. Actively, I know this and going to significantly decrease their footprint as far as space goes because they have to survive.
What about attracting talent? So, what are you doing to attract talent nowadays? Is it still the new agent model where you go after new agents?
We have a bunch of new agents, like that's like our bread and butter, right? But we also have like seasoned agents that come over all the time. My model is so okay. There's another Zillow preferred team that when we've let go of agents, they've gone over to this team, right? Like because they're Zillow preferred and they just want those leads. We let go of agents if they're not doing what they need to, if they're out of integrity, blah blah blah. There's a whole bunch of reasons. And their model, that Zillow or that team, their model is hire as many agents as possible. It's a high turnover business. My model is I want to hire slowly and hire the right people and be able to give these people careers. So as far as an attraction standpoint goes, I can give you leads all day long. That's the easy part. You want to produce, I have zero agents that did zero business. in my company last year. Every single one of my agents closed deals. Every single one. And I think in February alone, I had every single agent either under contract or closed a deal in my company. And that's my goal. I want all of my agents to produce. I want to have some agents that are closing deals and then some that are like, what do I do? I'm floating. I don't know how to. And so my model is, look, I can give you all of the systems. I can give you all of the tech. I can give you all of the processes. All you need to do is show up and put in the work, whether that be if you're going to be on Zillow, if you're going to be on lead flow on our Meta and Google ads. If you're on these lead flow, if you're going to be on our pond flow, like all of these different structures that we have, then you have to do X, Y, and Z. You have to be at these meetings. You have to do, we have a structure. But if you do all of this, I can guarantee you'll close, and you'll probably be making $10,000 to $15,000 a month, pretty consistently, right? If you want to do some of this and get 30, 40 grand a month and blah, 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 then you're going to have to do more. And I can show you a pathway to get there, right? But at the end of the day, how we operate is like, you're not going to have to ever fill out another freaking offer. You're not going to have to ever schedule your own showing again. You're not going to have to ever do any paperwork during a transaction, set up inspections, blah, blah. All of this stuff that, like, I don't think as an agent we should be doing anyways. Like, let's take that off your plate so you could go do what you do best, which is create relationships and close deals. That's our that's our attraction, right? Like I can take what you're doing right now. If you're closing XYZ, you're closing 20 million right now. I can easily get you to 30, 40, 50 million just by taking stuff off your plate. And then we're not even talking about the kerosene that we'll pour in when we give you lead flow.
Yeah. If somebody did not have a Zillow account, where would you spend the marketing dollars?
Facebook, Meta.
And what is that like in terms of like, are they like you're advertising properties? You're advertising, hey, looking to buy a property. You're advertising.
I would advertise real estate directly. So like our buddy in 2026, you have to think about more than anything. And so, what market are you in?
Ventura, California.
Okay. So, like all of my content that then I would put ad spend behind would be everything about Ventura. Like if I'm you, I'm going to every restaurant in Ventura. I'm doing a review, and then I'm talking. Hey, at the end of it, I'm like, again, I'm Jose, your local real estate agent here in Ventura County. Anything you need to know about Ventura, I'm your guy. Blah blah blah. Like I am doing this type of content, and I'm doing this consistently, and then I'm putting ad spend behind it because the consolidation of the real estate brokerages and everything that's happening in real estate, the local is going to crush 26, 27. And so my ad spend, if I have no Zillow account, if I have no online leads right now, I have nothing, I'm creating all localized content and then I'm putting ad spend behind that. I'm not even worried about, oh, look, you want to buy a property, you want to do this, oh, look at our programs. No one cares about that anymore, right? Like they do, but they want to know who you are first. And you got to be the person that's going to give them the information because when someone's buying in Ventura, they want to know why, if I go to Ventura, I'm like, why am I going to buy here? Like, why would I buy here when I could go buy in Newport Beach? You're going to tell me why. You're going to tell me the restaurant to go to after a show, and you're going to be like, hey, by the way, there's this amazing Mexican restaurant right down the street. You need to try it. And when I go there, it's going to be good. And I'm going to be like, hell yeah. Like, I love this. Like, he knows the area.
Hey, if he can pick out a good Mexican restaurant, he can sell me a house.
The crazy thing is, that is the logic.
The virtual assistants, where have you had the most success with? Because I think that's one of the things that I started doing really early on in my career as well too. I started delegating. In that sense, our stories are the same, where I came into it like, okay, like I need to focus on income producing activities. Let me delegate everything else. Where are you having the most success hiring VAs? And then where are you getting the most success hiring VAs, and then what's it basically?
Where, as far as what country?
Countries, and then also like there's Philippines.ph, which is like a website. There's some in Mexico. Like, are there certain platforms where there's Upwork, there's Fiverr, there's just different things where VAs tend to hang out with. Yeah, what countries, and then also if there's certain websites that you like to plug that you think would be helpful for somebody looking.
The very first, like, I would say VA that I hired was like someone that part time doing some data scrubbing stuff was from Fiverr. But like, I joke about this, like, I'm like, yeah, I basically own the Philippines. I have so many people that work for me in the Philippines. Like I absolutely love the Philippines. I have a bunch of people in my marketing team that are there. I have a team that's there, and then I also have like people that I've hired in Colombia. I think Colombia for like design is phenomenal. I think as far as like admin support and all of that, I think the Philippines is the best. I think like if you're gonna get a cold caller and things like this, it's South Africa. So we've hired from all of these things, but like I go to the Philippines usually every other year to go visit my VAs that are all there. Um, and so we fly them all into Manila. We, do this whole thing, or Cebu we went to last year or whatever. But yeah, I would say the Philippines, and then onlinejobs.ph is great. We do a lot of job boards in a bunch of different platforms um, that we put the job boards up, and then I have a subscription past client for oh my god, personality test. Long story short, I'm gonna blank on the name, but personality chat disc. And so then every single hire or every single applicant has to fill out a personality test first, and then we filter out these because like I'll put up a job ad and I'll put some money behind the job spend or the ad spend for the job board, and we'll get 500 applicants for a first that wants a VA, but like I need the people that fit certain criteria for certain jobs. So we filter that out through a personality test, and then after that, then I take them. Then we have a series of interviews, and the first set of interviews is done by another one of my VAs that's been with me for like 10 years, and then it depending on the department they go into, we interview from there. So it's a complicated system, but it started from literally online jobs and then me interviewing the people.
Yeah, and then basically doing that. Cool, man. All right. So, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that? And any final words as well?
Instagram is the easiest way. I mean, that's how we connected, I think, right? So it's at Cyrus Andres, Cyrusandre. That's the best way to get a hold of me, connect with me. I try to respond to every single DM. Sometimes I miss them and it takes me a while, but I do eventually get back to people. So yeah, and then every Friday I do a Ask Me Anything. So that's also like a low pressure way that a lot of people like will send me messages and comments, and I'll answer a bunch of different questions.
Question everybody wants to know: is Leo really your brother?
Yeah, that's my dude. I think I'm gonna see him tomorrow, actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm going down to Miami tomorrow, so hopefully I see him tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, I love Leo. Leo's great. I mean, I think there's no better person for the role that he's in right now, and
Yeah.
a lovely guy.
Agree. Cool, man. All
Yeah.
right. For today's episode, we had Cyrus Moseni. We talked about how to grow a real estate team. We talked about a real estate brokerage versus a team. We talked about leads. We talked about splits. We talked about hiring VAs. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel that this episode will be helpful to somebody, make sure to hit that share button. Thanks again, Cyrus, Jose Morales, and until next time.
Appreciate you.